Welcome back to the Branding Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Praise Santos-McKenna. I'm the founder of the branding studio Come Plum in San Francisco, California. And we are here for our personal brand summit series in which I'm taking the wisest, smartest, kindest, most experienced folks within the personal branding sphere and bringing them together to share with you how you can elevate your thought leadership. And today we have someone here who you might recognize for those who are repeaters of the Personal Brand Summit. Allison was with us a couple of years ago and she's back. She's that much of a VIP. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Allison helps impact-driven professionals confidently show up on stage or in front of the camera. For over a decade, she has worked with incredible brands like Curology, Bulletproof, Dr. Kelly Ann, helping them craft powerful messaging that resonates with their audience. But what she loves the most is helping people step into their authentic voice, overcome their nerves, and make a real impact when they speak. Today, she's going to chat with us about all these tips and tricks so that you can take your expertise and bring it to life in a way that feels natural. Because anyone else feel stiff when they speak? Grounded, because does anyone else feel so fluttered? And connected, which we'll really dive into that more, whether you're speaking to a live audience or on camera, because at the end of the day, giving a talk isn't about perfection. We need to rid ourselves of that. It's about connection. And that's why Allison is here today. What up, girl? How are you today?
Oh, hey, it's good to see you. It's good to be back here. Thanks for having me as a second-time guest. It's such an honor.
Yeah, she's already committed to all the personal brand summits moving forward. And so I've signed her on retainer. So thank you so much for being here. But I want to brag on you a little bit more. You've worked with great brands, but you've also done quite a bit of public speaking. It's really helped your career. Can you share with us a little bit how public speaking has helped your career in order to convince our people like public speaking is really good for your brand?
Yes, I love this. Yeah, public speaking is something I did very early on. I was very fortunate to have a mentor who would really put me on stages and encourage me to do that. So I spoke at little masterminds, bigger masterminds, conferences, podcasts, and that really put me in front of my people. And I think if I didn't do that, I would have just been on the content hamster wheel. I would have kind of just not really being able to meet the right people. And that really, really put me in front of so many people. I landed some of my favorite projects and worked with some amazing clients because of it. And because of that, also, like you mentioned, I elevated my thought leadership. So whenever I talk to clients and we're mapping out a visibility plan or a lead gen strategy, or, I'm mentoring people, I always come back to public speaking, giving some talks, because, there's something so personal about really talking to people, whether you're on stage, in front of a camera, on a podcast. You just really get the vibe and the energy from listening to someone, and you just get to connect with them in such a deeper, more authentic way. So it's been pivotal to my business, and I even still get inquiries from talks I did years ago. So it's just it's the gift that keeps on giving,
Okay, we like that ROI and makes sense because I feel like in our world that's getting more disconnected as we're getting more connected online. Yet when someone hears someone who feels human, whether even if it is a recording or they see you speak, I love that you highlighted there were small settings and there's also bigger stages that you were on, but it's all under this category and people got to see you and something stuck with them and they remembered you even years later. And that's really incredible that public speaking could make that much of an impression. The thing is, though, when I talk to folks about public speaking, it's so scary, right? They're like, but I'm
Mm.
not an actor. I'm like not a performer. Did you have to make some sort of shift to be like, okay, this is not a performance? Like what did you do and your experience with public speaking to really make that shift to really show up for your audience?
Yeah, that was such a huge shift, because I think what's really common is for us to feel like this is a performance. I'm literally on stage. I want to make an impression. I want to be respected. I want to be admired. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's when I made the shift from this perfectionism, I need to impress, I need to perform mindset, to more, I'm here to serve, I'm here to show up, and I'm here to really just connect with people, and I'm here to make an impact and to inspire. that's when it helped me like stay a lot really grounded in my why and my vision. And it kind of really, it calmed the nerves. It really changed how I showed up. And I felt more aligned with who I am and more authentic. I see the times where I did try to perform, or I did try to show up, and it's so subtle, but like I sounded different. My energy was different. Whereas now I'm so grounded in my mission and I'm just here to serve. It's everything, it just feels different. Like my vibe is different, my nervous system is different, my pre-show ritual is different. It's something I recommend I help people out with, because that shift can really make it more sustainable. And also when it comes to impact, that's really how you make the impact, is when you're really staying grounded in your mission and really showing up for the people.
Yeah, that's huge. And I just want to make it really practical for people because you said a really important point is that it was really subtle because maybe your content stayed the same, whether you were like wanting to perform versus connect and inspire. And yet, like, what was that practical shift? Are you just saying a mantra to yourself or are you outlining something different to make yourself more grounded? I really want to make folks inspired so that when they give these more connected, grounded talks, they know what to do to shift it. Because I feel like it's so easy to go into performance mode. Is there a practical way to do it? Like, is it something you do before or something like what you even say yes to, the public speaking gigs you say yes to? How does that really flesh out?
Ooh, such a juicy question. I kind of love how your curiosities kind of like dug in a little bit. So I feel like I could break this out into a couple of pieces. So there's what you say yes to. And I would say like that's a really big part of it, because there was a point in my business where I was just saying yes to everything. And there were spaces that I really, really felt like, okay, these are my people. These are the people that I really want to be with. And then there were things I said yes to that were maybe not quite as aligned, and maybe the reasons for it were just a little bit different. Maybe it was like, oh, maybe that'd be kind of cool if I could like really be on the stage, and and maybe those stages were really meant for performances versus that connection. So I think it really starts there, first and foremost. That's the more external piece. But then when you look at the internal piece, we can look at a couple of things. So one of them was a pre-show ritual. And my pre-show ritual is like, it's really flexible. There's a lot of different like ingredients that goes into it. And just kind of depending on what my stomach is feeling like not literally, but depending what I'm craving that day, it could be a mix of me like visualizing and me like just calming my nervous system, calming myself and grounding myself. I like to visualize that I'm in this like really, really bright and airy spa. I'm in the lounge of it. I'm sipping my cucumber water with my closest girlfriends. They're the ones who are so unconditionally supportive of me. They are really curious about everything I have to say. They're endlessly rooting me on. And, we've just got like cool, chill ocean noises playing in the background. And that just really puts me in a place of like, yes, okay, I am calm. I also remind myself, when I think about like staying grounded in my why, something that kind of served me was remind myself that I am the mission. I'm a living expression of the mission, and me showing up on the stage, that is me living out the mission. It's less about me looking a certain way or what I wear, what newly I'm wearing that day, or what my hair looks like. But it's just remembering that I am the mission, and me showing up is like this powerful moment. And I'm here to really connect with people. And I imagine too, when I'm on stage, that one friend who just eats up anything I have to say, I imagine they're nodding along, they're smiling, and they're like, yeah, go you. It's so human and natural to imagine that everyone is like criticizing, or they're spacing out, or they're challenging you, or going against what you have to say. So imagining that there's someone who's just, actively listening to you, that really changes like the vibe and the energy that I put on stage.
I love this because yeah, it's visioning. It's really going through a guided meditation. I love that you're putting yourself in a really calm space before and then imagining people especially like your close friends, even imagining them hanging to your every word, because I do think that's a common thing in public speaking, right? There's that common fear. You're standing up in your underwear. Everyone's making fun of you, right? That's just the common caricature of public speaking. But in truth, even being an audience member, I'm always cheering that person on. If I didn't want to be there, I could just leave. But the fact that I'm in that seat, listening to that podcast, queuing up this show, I want them to succeed and I want them to be there. And it's so good for us to intentionally, before we start speaking, remind ourselves of that. Like, no, these people tuned in, these people are here in the seat because they actually want to hear us. They're hanging on to our every word. So I feel like that is so good and so practical for us to just get ready for a stage or to get ready for an interview. Is there someone that you can think of? Because I know you've been a public speaker for a while, but you've also seen a lot of people public speak. Can you give other examples of people who just like brought it and people who were in your memory? What did they do to make that impression on you? What was it? What were their special things?
I had a client, and he was in the wellness and fitness space, and I worked with him pretty closely. He created a lot of videos. He would do talks, etc., and we, create a lot of content together. And I noticed that when he was talking about a certain topic, it would light him up. And it was specifically around women's hormones and how that impacts your stress levels, your metabolism, your sleep, hunger, mood, energy, and cravings. And, of course, like we as women, like when we're on our cycle or when women are going through menopause or perimenopause, your workouts and your nutrition and your wellness just adapts accordingly. That was such a foreign concept to me at the time. And that was something he was so passionate about, that when he talked about it, it was so clear. Like, this is something that really lights you up. You can go endlessly about this. You have so much content to talk about. Your voice changes. You have all of these stories to pull from. And he felt very inspired, and it was inspiring to watch, like his body language. Like, he barely needed any coaching at that point. It was really all just about like, okay, let's get this in one take, and we'll edit out a couple of things, and then we're good to go. So I think like what I notice is like when we talk about things that really light us up, that's also how we show up authentically, because we're really naturally joyful about it, which I don't know about you, Praise, but that took me a little while to really arrive at. Like, I'm blessed that I'm good at a lot of things, but to do something that really gives me life, like that's what business is about, and that's what marketing is about.
Yeah, that is so good. Just because you are speaking to a lot of other multi-passionate, multi-dimensional people who are listening to this podcast, who are part of this summit, they are probably good at so many things. And yet there are a few things that truly light them up. There are a few things, and you said it because your client could just talk about it forever. Like, his voice changed, the energy in his voice changed. And I imagine it probably was a discovery process for him. It's not like he came out of the womb talking about women's hormones. But I love that there are things that truly light us up, and we need to pay attention to that. Do you have any tips from your experience or from working with that client to help people discover the thing that lights them up? Or how do we help problem solve for people who are like, yes, I totally agree. I'm good at so many things. I've been asked to speak at so many things, and sometimes I dread it. I don't light up about some topics that people have asked me to speak on. How can we help folks find the thing that lights them up?
I usually ask a couple of things. So the first question, if you didn't care about what anyone else thought, like, what would you choose to speak about? Like, no one else. The second question, if you truly believed that whatever you spoke about would be wildly successful and wildly impactful, because then like, what would you choose? And I choose that one because a lot of the times there's something that we enjoy speaking about, but we're not doing it. It's because there's this fear about like, can I really become a thought leader in this? Can I really make an impact in this? Can I really be the person to inspire people about this topic? And then the third thing is, if you had an endless list of people emailing you, asking you to speak about a certain topic, what would it be? Like, imagine there's a whole abundance of it. There's just, you're booked out for the next year or 6 months, even flying to your favorite places or speaking with your favorite people about one topic. Like, what would it be? And usually, people, you'll see, they'll feel a certain way. They'll notice something in their body. You'll see them light up about something when they're answering those questions. And it becomes a little bit clearer what you're being drawn to.
Yeah, those questions are so helpful because you're helping people. Again, you're so good at helping people cast vision and putting in them these like guided imaginations, these guided meditations of like, hey, could it be this? But we also have to acknowledge, there's so much mindset stuff that oftentimes we don't say the thing that we really want to talk about that lights us up because there's that fear. Like, could I really be a thought leader in this space? We have this doubt, this like protective feature of us that's like, don't admit that X, Y, or Z lights you up because could we really do that? But sometimes naming it is huge, or even just trying it out. Like, do a podcast interview or two about this topic and see if your voice changes. See if your voice speeds up. See if your face literally lights up. When we say you light up, truly, like, I'm so glad this is a video podcast because we get to see facial expressions. We get to see body language too. Like things really switch and change. And so those are such good tips too. Also, I'll just add to this. A lot of people don't want to do it, but just listen back to your interviews. Watch your past
Yeah.
public speaking things. Like we don't want to do it because we feel a little cringy. But that's one way we could really do some self-discovery and audit. Or like, wait, I did love talking about that. Or I did love saying that. So using it as a mirror. That's really wonderful.
Watch your tape, y'all.
Watch your tape. You gotta watch it. But I also really get it. It can be cringy, but I
Totally.
really encourage folks. You gotta just sometimes do it to help you in this like discovery phase. And just as an encouragement, for some people, you might find that immediately. You might answer Allison's 3 questions and know that thing immediately. But also give yourself the grace if it's a discovery process to discover that thing that lights you up.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, it's an ever evolving thing. Like what really lit me up a couple of years ago is so different from what lights me up now. And even what lights me up now, like it was a discovery process for me too. It took me a little bit, but when it happened, I was like, yo, this has been in front of me this whole time, and I knew in, answering those questions, but also when I was talking to other people about it, when I was posting about it, like everything just kind of flowed through me. It didn't feel forced. It felt very natural and organic. And, we want that for you too.
That's so good. Again, like you can discover this in community when you talk to people about it too, observing yourselves. I do feel like this interview would be lacking if we didn't talk about just kind of the art of public speaking, or what I like to call like, how do you have riz when you public speak? Because there are some people you watch on stage or you watch in a podcast and you're like, they got it. And there's some people you watch in a YouTube video, you're like, bro, your topic is actually really interesting, or sis, your content's actually really good if I read it, but the way you're presenting it, like, I cannot watch you. Are there practical tips? Like, are there body language things that people can do to have more charisma or that riz, as Gen Z says, when they do public speaking?
The Riz, the Riz. We all want the Riz. I totally get it. Yes. So there is a couple of things. Well, we talked about a pre-ritual earlier. And one thing I'll add to that too is like, just really honor your body in that moment. Does it need to dance it out? Because I have a pre-stage pump up playlist. I know you do too, Praise. And sometimes, like just depending on what the vibe is, it's something really high energy or something like flowy and R&B and soulful, maybe some Hawaiian music, but just really honoring what your body needs. If you need to move around, that really helps you to just kind of loosen up because you don't want to seem stiff. You want to be natural. You want to be yourself, like you're just kind of out in a spa or whatever your happy place is. So I would say it's the top thing, the thing that I always even remind myself is to talk slower than you actually think you need to. When you're lit up about a topic, you can go on and on. You can go 1,000 kilometers per hour. But, we want to really slow down. We want to vary the tone of our voice. And we want to use our hands and pause when we need to. I was really trying to demonstrate all of that, but really like, it's really just, it's animating yourself a little bit. I think like when we're on stage or if you're in front of a camera, if you need to move around a little bit, if you need to walk, if you need to take a sip of water, honor yourself, do that. I remember I was watching Mariah Carey. Oh, I don't remember what it was, but she really knew, like, there were so many times in between songs. She's like, I gotta take a sip of water, guys, before I do this next song. And you're like, yeah, girl, do it. Of course. Like, you're hitting those notes. So, and sometimes like giving yourself that pause or moving around, it just gives it helps you recenter, and it helps you to get back to that riz and that feeling of like, this is just what they're like in real life, and it's more of a humanizing experience.
Yeah, I love that. Talking with our hands, moving around, taking breaks when we need to. Also, for us, when we're really excited about a topic, we could talk about it nonstop, but sometimes we have to slow things down because these might be new concepts to our people. This might be a new thing they're ingesting, and they might need a slower pace or really that pause to help them say, whoa, Allison just said so many golden nuggets. Let me just chew on that. And charisma is really people having like a special connection with you or a liking to you. And if they're really getting inspired by you and able to take in that information with these few little hacks, with a few little ways of moving our body and changing the tone of our voice. I mean, we don't have to sing a Mariah Carey note to get all of our popular topics across, but we can learn from the best and just take a pause when we need to, drink water if we need to really fuel that charisma. That is so good.
Yeah, I love that. And to really double click on that, really bring us back to connection, right? Because like Riz is really just all about connecting with those people. So however you connect, whatever you need to do to show up in connection and show up in service, that's what's really going to get you that Riz that you're after.
We love that Riz too. And I've also heard someone say too of, and said again, like switching from performance of we memorize everything line by line. Do you do the bullet point method where you're, or are you memorizing line by line? Because I just imagine when I'm speaking, if I remember bullet points, I know where to pause. But if I'm memorizing a paragraph, it is way harder to pause. It is way
So
harder to
hard.
like take a breath.
Yeah, and memorizing your lines, that puts you back into performance mode, right? Like that's what you're like trying to remember every single word and every single like sentence and paragraph break. And that's tough to do, especially for a talk, for a 10-minute talk, 20, however long it is, that's really tough to do. What I like to do is I memorize, or I remember the core message, the core points. Bullet points really help me out because I just remember point 1, 2, 3, and 4. But core messaging and just remembering that gives you space to improvise, to have flexibility in the way that you tell it. The core message just captures what you're saying and like the tone of it and the narrative. But however you say it, when it's on message, then you're going to get the point across. And it's a lot less pressure to say something in a certain way. And therefore, it helps you to connect with people and show up a lot more authentically. So just remembering those core points, mapping that out. I did it before this interview. Highly, highly recommend that over memorizing any words or lines.
Allison, this is gold. Thank you so much for sharing this with us again with the Personal Brand Summit. We are talking about thought leadership, but we're really emphasizing thought servant leadership, and you communicating to us. Remember, it's not about performance, which makes it about us. It's about connection, which makes it about the audience, the people we serve, being aligned with our mission, being grounded in our why we want to talk about these things, why we know if we speak about this topic nonstop, not only will it energize us, but it really will change the world. And I really believe that the people who are listening to the podcast, who are part of the Personal Brand Summit, there is something inside them that can make the world better. And the world really needs them to share it. And I feel like your tips for practical public speaking, your tips for showing up with Riz, your pre-show rituals will really help them do that. So thank you for modeling for us what it is to serve others with your wisdom. We are so lucky to have you again on the Personal Branding Summit. Thank you, Allison.
Oh, thank you. The honor is mine as well. And I'm excited for all the future ones that are part of my contract that I signed.
She's on retainer, people. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.